Hey everybody, this is Mike Warren with misuniversity.com. And you may see this other gentleman. He's a good looking guy right there. His name is Todd Toback. Yeah, that's the guy right there. Next thing you know, he's going to be raising the roof, doing all that kind of stuff, having a good time. Well, you know why he's having a good time is because he specializes in a field that allows him to make money on property, residential and commercial, but make money in a way that most people don't think about. It's not about, buying and flipping houses and doing that kind of stuff. It's a unique way of controlling property without any risk on your part. And it has to do with something that's called lease options. So, Todd, what I'd like you to do is why don't you tell them a little bit about you and how you specialize in this lease option world and why it's important for them to also learn about that.
Sure. Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Todd Toback, and probably like a lot of you guys watching this video, I tried a lot of niches in real estate. I was looking at foreclosures and mobile homes and fix and flips, and I wasn't all that successful at first. And right before I was about to give up, I heard of a gentleman doing these things called lease options, lease purchasing or rent to own, and really in practical terms, they're really all the same thing. It's a two-part agreement. It's a lease in which you have the right to possess a piece of property, right? You could live in the property or you could sublease the property. And an option. An option is a right, not the obligation. And Mike, you're very familiar with options. It's a right to buy this piece of property during a specified amount of time for a specified price. Now you combine these things, a lease with an option, and you have a lease option. And the key thing here is that it's the right to buy a piece of property, not the obligation.
Well, I think that's really important. And just to put it a different way, guys, is that you make money on the property. If you don't make money, you walk away. And you have no financial or legal obligation or risk into the deal. So it's either going to make you cash or you walk. I mean, that's one of the things I like to specialize. When I use options, I use them on paper. You're using them on houses, but again, your paperwork for doing it on houses is different than my paperwork for doing it with paper.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that drove me into lease purchasing, and again, is when I was looking at all these other niches, I was scared about the risk, right? I remember one time I bought a mobile home and a deal that really I didn't know all that much about, and I actually lost some money on it. And so to get back into real estate, I was looking for something that would enable me to sleep at night, Mike, that wouldn't take cash, that wouldn't take credit. And you know, if the deal didn't work out, I could walk and move on to the next one. So thanks for bringing that up.
You bet. I think that's really important. So then that actually leads me into, I guess, a different question here. So I know we can control the property with an option, so we don't have an obligation, but we have a right to buy something or manage it however we want to do that. How do you actually make money with these things?
Sure. Well, right now, if you take a look at any neighborhood in the United States, there is going to be one or two motivated sellers out of every 40 to 50 houses, period. And a lot of these houses, and these are the kind of houses that I look for, are vacant. Okay, maybe they're owned by a tired landlord. Maybe they're owned by someone who used to own the property but moved out of the area. Okay, they're what I call don't-wanters. And you have some landlords who just let their properties sit vacant for 3, 4, 5, 6 months at a time just because they don't have the skills to fill it. They're just tired of the property. So what we do is we find these people and offer to lease their property from them for a specified amount of time and then buy the property during the lease. Now, the best part about this niche, Mike, is that there's you can make money on multiple levels. Up front, because you gotta eat, okay, every single month. And at the end,
that's one.
Okay, every month in form of option money. I'm gonna get into this. We're going to have a webinar for everyone here to teach them more about this. We can make money every single month in the form of rent spreads and on the back end. I'm going to break those down here right now, Mike.
So that's like 3 different ways right off the bat, right?
3 different ways. And I always tell everybody, hey, you know what? You got to eat today. And if you can't find a way to make money up front, you need to find another strategy because the rest won't happen. It's all about cash flow first and then equity. And once you have both, man, you're unstoppable. And lease purchasing can give you that. So when we control these properties, Mike, we don't put any money down. We get the right to lease, usually at market value and sometimes a little bit below. And we buy the house, get the right to buy it, sometimes just a little bit below market value, and even market value. We can give them a fair deal. We now control this piece of property for 3, 4, 5 years. And we don't let it sit vacant like the owner. What we do is we advertise this property on a rent to own. I want you to get very familiar with that term, rent to own, because it is a cash cow. What we do is we sublease this property, Mike, and we put someone in there who would like to own a home but can't qualify for a loan. Do you think there are any of those out there right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's like what, 25 to 40% of America right now.
I mean, it's very, very difficult. So what we do is make money by putting them into these properties without having to qualify. And they give us something very, very important. It's called option money. Option money is the money that we collect. This is our profit, but it also gives them the right to buy the property from us. And this is usually anywhere from 2.5% to 7%. I've collected as much as 10% of the purchase price of the property. So if we're dealing with a house that's $200,000, we're going to collect a minimum of $6,000, $7,000, and closer to $7,500 before we even let them in the door.
Nice. So you get a chunk of change right up front then.
Right, and usually we have a spread there, and that is profit from day one, Mike. $7,500 in my pocket on the front of my deals. Okay, that always puts me in a better position. I'm more confident. I can go out and do more deals. I can reinvest that money into marketing or spend it or invest it or go to Hawaii, whatever you want to do. But being able to eat today is the most important thing. The next thing, Mike, you really want to concentrate is creating a residual income. Okay, so if we're paying that owner, let's say $1,500 a month, and that's market rent for that house. And again, we're going to negotiate the best we can. But at this point, we're going to sublease this property. Usually, we're able to get about 10 to 20% above market value. So that $1,500, guess what we're going to charge for our tenant buyer?
Well, 17, 19?
Yeah, between $1,700 and $1,900. So we're making $300 a month on the property, residual every single month. And we're also delegating all the maintenance and repairs to our buyers. So a lot of people may think, oh my gosh, what if there's some repairs on the property? My cash flow is going to be gone. No, we have someone who's got an owner mentality, not a renter mentality. And that's what I love about this. You don't really have to deal with tenants. You deal with homeowners. So
you don't have the 2 o'clock morning, hey, my toilet's stuffed up.
Right. I can't stand those 2 o'clock phone calls.
Yeah, I don't like those either. So we got cash up front. So we make like $7,500 up front. We're making another $300 a month. That's another $3,600 in a year. Mm-hmm. You're getting it for 5 years. That's another $15,000, $18,000 that you're getting out of that deal in the interim. And what's the third way?
Well, let's assume that I agreed to buy this house for $200,000 from the owner. And let's say it's worth $215,000. That's not a real discount. In the real estate investing world, people think, well, that's not really a great deal. Well, for me, if I have a 3-year lease on this property and I buy it for $200,000, I can sell this property for an above market price to my tenant buyer because I'm calling the shots. I'm creating the terms, just like if you've ever bought a piece of rent-to-own furniture or your credit wasn't so great and you had to finance a car, you're going to pay a little bit above market interest rates. Well, that's the same exact thing here. They're going to pay a little bit above market value. And so I can sell that house for, say, $239,000, even if the value is $210,000 to $215,000.
Nice.
Now the key part here, Mike, think about this, is if I'm buying the house for $200,000 and I sell that property for $239,000, I got a nice chunk of change coming my way if and when the tenant buyer buys.
Right.
So minus their option money. So we like to credit their option money towards the purchase price of the property, but still you're looking
at... So it's like an incentive to buy.
An incentive to buy. So we're looking at over a $30,000 profit on the back end. Now you may be thinking, Todd, oh my gosh, what if my tenant buyer doesn't buy? I thought you said this was a no-risk strategy. Well, we only give these people 1 year to buy, and we control it for 3. Okay, and so at this point, what we can do is we can actually get a renewal fees from our tenant buyers, Mike, because now we got them in the property. They love the property. The husband. They don't want
to lose that cash they put up front in the first year, right? They got to renew.
Absolutely, and these aren't tenants who pack up their stuff and are gone the next day. So you get renewal fees, and of course, I don't have to give them another year, but I'd like to see them buy the property. And so if they give me some kind of nominal amount of money, enough to make me happy and feel secure, then hey, I'll take $3,000 or $4,000 and let them have another year to buy the property.
I'm sorry. I'm not laughing because I think it's funny. I'm laughing because that's just freaking awesome.
It is,
You got cash up front. You're going to get cash in the back end, and you're making money in between, but it's like, oh, well, yeah, if you want to renew and not lose your $7,500, you got to pay a little bit more each year in order to maintain that, because if you need another year, we'll give you another year, but you're going to have to pay for that. I absolutely love it. That's phenomenal.
And Mike, I just want to talk about one more strategy. I know that I said I'd only be about 5 minutes here, but when I was out there, I was running into some of these deals. Better shut off this phone here.
Somebody wants to renew.
Yeah, someone wants to renew. Well, I used to run into deals where sometimes there was no equity in the property, or maybe their payments were too high. And I used to walk from those deals, Mike. But really, I found a little secret niche in my business where what if I didn't want to stay in the middle, no matter what? I don't want to take any kind of liability on whatsoever. I found that I could actually lock up these deals with owners, a lease purchase contract. And this piece of paper, because you know all about paper, Mike, actually has value. And if I don't want to sublease this property, but I have a great deal on paper, what do you think I could do with it?
You sell the paper.
I sell the paper, but most people think about selling paper to an investor, right? They think about maybe trying to wholesale this, and they're only going to make a couple of thousand. Well, I'm thinking, wow, you know what? I want to make more than $2,000-3,000. How about I just assign this contract? How about I wholesale this piece of paper to the buyer and collect full retail price, that full option money, get out of the deal, and have no liability? So you could do it. You could do both ways. You could stay in the middle and collect cash flow on the back end, or if you just want to, make some quick cash and move out, then you know what, get some money and move on to the next one. You could do it either way.
That's a perfect strategy, really, for today's market, because you have so many properties where people really can't afford their payments. They don't want to go into foreclosure. I'd like to see the credit, so you can allow them to get out of that house, lease it over to you. You've got the paper done, so rather than you stay in the middle, you essentially flip or assign that contract to somebody else who comes in, pays you $5,000, $10,000, take over the contract. They don't have to qualify for anything, so they don't need bank financing, which a lot of people can't do in today's market, very difficult. So you're making them or giving them the opportunity to come in, gain a house for a nominal amount of cash.
Yep.
They're in a home that they love, they want to own it, they own it, and rather they essentially exercise their right to buy it a couple years down the road, and they got in for literally nothing compared to what they'd have to putting 20 or 30% down working with a bank, and you're out of the deal. You made your $5-10 grand. You move on to the next deal.
Yep, and that's one of the ways I love to do business. When I sublease, I pick the best deals to stick in the middle. I've run into $1 million properties, Mike, where I've done deals on these and assigned the contract because maybe the numbers were a little bit tight. And you know what? I'm willing to give up some of that maybe residual cash flow to be able to sleep at night and take maybe 10, 15. I've made up to $45,000 on some of those deals. Now, that doesn't come by every day, but those little $5, $7, $10,000, they are out there. And especially in this market, because everyone who's bought a house in the past 3 years, how much equity do you think they have?
Zero. Not
a whole lot. The market took a real crash, and all the houses lost 50% of value. Well, we've been kind of teetering here. And so every one of these properties, there's some real opportunity for people who don't want a short sale but need a way to sell their property without paying a real estate commission or closing costs.
You bet. Well, guys, we're going to be, and this is for you that are watching, we're going to be doing a special training webinar where Todd's going to go into a lot more detail. So, Todd, tell me a little bit about what you're going to be teaching on this webinar.
Well, Mike, right now we're just scratching the surface, okay? Before I talked about subleasing, I'm going to get into that strategy. I'm going to talk about actual deals and break down the numbers step by step by step by step. I'm going to talk about assigning those contracts, whether you want to work in the $200,000 arena or the $1 million arena. It doesn't matter, same exact thing. I'm going to talk about a little bit how to find these deals, Mike. I'm going to talk a little bit how to protect yourself in these agreements. It's very, very important, okay? You don't want to go out there and try this if you don't know how to secure your agreements. And finally, I'm going to talk about how to structure these for maximum profitability. And if we have time on the webinar, Mike, I also got a few more bonus strategies that I'll keep you here in my right pocket, if you don't mind.
Now, I understand you got to, you're going to be covering a lot. So I really encourage everyone that's watching right now, click on a link. You'll see it. Click on a link down below, or it'll be, one of the two places, down below or over here on my left, your right. Click on that link, register for the webinar, get on there, get trained, figure out what Todd's doing. This is phenomenal stuff. You don't want to miss out. The world rewards action takers. You need to take action. Click on that button, get registered. We will both see you on the call. So with that being said, I'll see you next time, or see you on the call. Bye for now.
Looking forward to it, guys. Bye.